Are you planning to apply for a US tourist visa for the first time? Or have you applied before but unfortunately got denied and now you're planning to reapply again? Then this video is for you. Hi, my name is Jay and welcome to Jay Speaks. A couple of months ago, I was able to visit the US for the first time, so I've thought of creating this video to share my own experience on how I was able to secure my US tourist visa here in Canada as an international student. But also, just to share, that was not the first time that I've applied for a US tourist visa. I tried applying before when I was still an expat in Dubai, but unfortunately, I was denied one. I will also cover more of that in this vlog. But in essence, this vlog will be divided into three parts. First would be how I've applied through the website. Second is how I prepared for my appointment and my appointment day. The third part will be how I got my passport with the US tourist visa stamp. And now, let's get started. So the first step for you to apply for a US visa is to book an appointment date. And for you to do that, you have to go to the website that I'll put in the description box below. So here's a short demo of how the website will look like. Once you scroll down, you will see two options, apply and continue. If you're yet to fill in the DS-160 form, which is the application form for the US non-immigrant visa, then you will need to click on this link. And then another website will pop up. And from here, you would need to choose which location you'll be planning to get the visa. For this example, I'll just choose Canada, Calgary, but I'll explain more about this later. And then you'll need to type in the code that you'll see on the screen. And then you need to click on Start Application. And you'll see this page. You have to just tick on I agree, answer the question below, and click on Continue. Now it's time for you to fill in the DS-160 form. So just scroll down to answer the question for that specific section. And the form will also allow you to save your progress, in case you're not able to complete it in one sitting, or once you're done with the current section, click on the next page to continue. Also, as you can see, you would need to fill in all these sections. So, the save button will really come in handy. And once you've completed all these sections, you would need to upload the 2x2 photo, review all your answers, and then e-sign it. Once done, you would need to go back to the primary website, click apply. Once the page loads, just click on the second option, which is the option for non-Canadian citizens residing in Canada, then click on continue. The page will load again, and then you will need to create an account. This will allow you to pay the application fee and book your appointment date. Just a tip for the form, make sure that you answered it completely, correctly, and truthfully. Make sure that you read the instructions before you fill it out. Any field that doesn't apply to you, put NA. If it applies to you, make sure that you answer it truthfully, especially those fields asking about where are you going in the US, where are you staying, when are you going, who are you visiting, and why. And also if you have immediate relatives in the US. It's very important for you to make sure that you remember your answers in this form and you answer it truthfully, because it should be the same with your answer in your interview with a consul in your appointment date. Before you can schedule an appointment, you have to pay the application fee, which I will put here. You can use your credit card or debit card. Once you've paid that, you can now choose your appointment date. But just a disclaimer, at the moment, I believe in Canada, queue is very long. It might take you up to 1 year of waiting or even more for your appointment date. That's why I suggest, even if you don't have any immediate plans in visiting the US, to lodge your application now. Just wait for your appointment date because it'll take a long time, or you can reschedule up to 3 times. Based on my research, some people were able to reschedule their appointment. They try to check the website around 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. wherever you are in Canada. During those times, the website kind of reset and open up slots. I tried that on my end. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get a slot. Whenever I get a slot, there's an error. I can't click on it, so I just stopped and just waited for my original appointment date, which is a year after I lodged my application. You heard it right. I had to wait for a year for my appointment date. That's why I'm suggesting for you to launch your application as early as now if you have any plans in going to the US by next year. So speaking of rescheduling, if any of the viewers here or if you know anyone who were able to reschedule and if you can give tips on how they did it, please put that in the comment section. That will really be helpful to those viewers who are planning to get their appointment date rescheduled. Another thing that you have to take note is if you're living in Winnipeg, you would need to visit the US consulate in Toronto, Calgary, or Vancouver. The US consulate here doesn't offer that service. For me, I've chosen to go to the US consulate in Calgary for my appointment. So once you're settled, once you were able to fill out your application form correctly, pay the application fee, and select an appointment date and the venue, then you're good to go. You just have to wait for that date. And now, let's move on how I prepared for my appointment day. But first, are you liking this video? If yes, please give me a thumbs up. Also, if it's your first time in my channel, hi and welcome, and I'm inviting you to subscribe so that you don't miss out on any content such as this, as I'm planning to cover more how-tos about international students and about my transition from my life in Dubai to my life here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, and also my travel vlogs which are coming up soon. Okay. To prepare for my appointment day, since I booked the appointment in Calgary, I have to also get flight tickets. Probably because of the season, the cheapest that I can see is $390 Canadian dollars, so I booked that. I also had to book 2 nights stay in a hostel, which is High Hostel. I've chosen this place to stay in because it's very convenient. It's about 6 minutes walk to the US consulate. I got a suite with a private bath, but they also offer bed in dormitory. So I'll put in the price here in the screen as well. I've also realized on the day of my appointment that most of the people that were staying in the hostel also have their appointment in the US consulate. So it's really popular to those applying for US visa. Another thing that's important is to make sure that you have the most recent copy of your 2x2 photo. And believe me, this is really important because looking back when I first applied for my US visa, I remember that I've taken the risk of submitting a kind of an old 2x2 photo. And when I was there in my appointment, they asked me for a more recent photo. But thankfully, that time, there are a lot of establishments near the US consulate in Dubai. Unfortunately, in Calgary, I don't think there's a nearby shop that's offering photo services. So make sure that you have it with you before you even fly to Calgary or go to the US consulate there. When you go to the photo services shop, tell them that it's for your US visa and they would know the specific size and then they can do the works for you. Also, you have to make sure that you gather all your documents. First and foremost, your passport. That's the most important thing because all the other things you can make a copy of it except for your passport. You have to print the confirmation of your appointment, your DS-160 form for your personal use. For me, I also had to bring an original copy of my study permit, my work permit, bank statements, copy of my letter of acceptance in school, and statement of account for my tuition fee in school, my offer letter, and my payslip from my company. Now you have all your documents prepared. Let's discuss what you should expect on your appointment date. But first, let's answer this question. What should be your attire on this day? For me, I just wear a turtleneck and a gray slacks. It's kind of like a smart casual attire. Most applicants that day were also wearing the same. You don't need to look very formal. Just be presentable. Don't wear slippers. Don't wear shorts or short skirts. Just be presentable because it's still an interview, right? You have to give a good first impression to the interviewer. Also, it's mentioned in the appointment confirmation form that you have to arrive in the venue 15 minutes early. In my case, I did the same, but I was surprised that the queue was very long when I arrived. Some people who have a later schedule decided to arrive very early. Since they were already in the queue, they were assisted earlier than those who have the original slot. We were kind of pushed back. Another tip that I will share is don't bring big bags. They might not allow you to go in because they don't have any space for your bag. For me, I just have a tote bag with my files, my wallet, and my AirPods and my phone. For AirPods and your wallet and your phone, they have a very small locker. So they're gonna get your ID and then you can get your belongings back right after your appointment. In my experience, the first step was someone greeted us, asked for our appointment date, and we queued in the security. And then there's a kiosk. They asked for my application form, information form, my passport. They got one of the two by two photos, and then my study permit. After the security screening, we were escorted by the security personnel to 10th floor. From there, there's another window. So in the first window, it's just verification of your name, and they will ask you if you've applied for US visa before, which I've answered that yes, I did apply in Dubai and I got denied. On the second window, they will ask you for your passport and your study permit if you're an international student. So what are the questions that the consulate asked me? First, they ask for my name. Then they ask, when am I going to finish school? They also ask, where am I going in the US? If I have immediate family there, aside from the person that I'm visiting, which I've answered yes, since I've also declared that in my form. They've asked me, what are my plans after studying in Canada? If I have relatives in Canada, and I've answered yes. The interviewer just told me that she can grant me a US tourist visa, and I just smiled and said thank you. In the end, I just had to show my study permit and my passport and my 2x2 photos. It's still better to carry those documents that I've mentioned earlier, because for some applicants they did. For me, they didn't ask for additional documents. Just to also share, there was this applicant. I was kind of hearing her answer. She's giving long answers to the interviewer, to the point where she was there for about 15 minutes because the interviewer has asked her for some supporting documents. I'm not sure in the end if she got the visa. I don't think she did, but most of the people got their visa. I think, yeah, the key is just to make sure that you don't overly explain, answer truthfully, just smile and just look at the eyes of the interviewer. That would show that you're telling the truth. Now let's move on to the third part of this vlog, which is getting your passport with the US tourist visa stamp. Going back to the application form, there's an option for you to choose if you want your passport to be delivered in your residence, or if you want a third-party vendor within the city that you're in to receive it. I chose the latter just because I want my passport to be securely delivered in an establishment, and I'm not sure if they're gonna just leave it in my front door or they're gonna put it in my mailbox. You can track the progress of your passport delivery in the same website. When I saw that it's already delivered, I just went there. Now, I just want to emphasize the tips that I've already shared earlier, because I believe that it can either make or break your US visa application. The first is make sure that your answers in the application form match with your answers in the interview, because if there's any discrepancy in that, the consulate might be doubtful of your intentions in getting a US visa, and they might deny your application. Second is plan ahead of time. As soon as you book your appointment date, check for flights, book the flight earlier. There's a high chance for the tickets to be cheaper when you book it earlier. You can also reserve or book the hotel as well. And I highly recommend High Hostel because it's very convenient for you. They offer free breakfast and it's an affordable price. Also, you can have a bit of sightseeing around the area because it's in downtown Calgary. Downtown Calgary is very beautiful even in the winters. Last but not the least, make sure that your answers are short, straightforward, succinct, and that you're not overly explaining anything. Aside from preparing a recent 2x2 photo, what I did differently this time around in my application is answering the questions direct to the point. When I've applied, when I was still an expat in Dubai, most of the questions were related to my employment. They kind of asked me a question, and I think I've overly explained myself. I think that's one of the reasons why they've decided to deny my application. And that's the end of today's vlog. Hopefully, the information that I've shared were useful and helpful, and that you were able to discover ways on how to kickstart your US visa application process. Hopefully, my story has inspired you to launch your application soon so that you can explore and travel to the US. Again, this is Jay, and this is Jay Speaks. Till next time.